The Amiibo, Nintendo's answer to the Toys to Life craze, and every scalper's dream and every true collector and anyone who wants to have fun's worst nightmare because of said scalpers. This is my entire collection, and, well, it's been a ride collecting them, but we have one more to add to the mix. So we're going to talk about it today. We have, as I play with the focus, Dark Samus. And the reason why I'm talking about this one is yesterday was my birthday and I happened to get this one as a present because I had to come up with a list of 10 things I wanted, and this was number 10. I kind of like Dark Samus as a character. I don't care so much for the design changes over the years. I've always thought the original design was the best. I really dislike the Metroid Prime 3 design, but I figured, you know, this means that I can play with it in Smash and try and train it up, which is one of the few things I really like about Smash. I don't like Smash that much, honestly, but watching my little puppets dance for me as they fight in some sort of gladiatorial death game is always enjoyable. And, you know, adding one more to the mix and seeing how she develops, that's a lot of fun. But I thought I would talk about this one today. Now, there's something immediately interesting about this before I take it out of the package that I want to show. And freak everyone who likes keeping things in boxes out. And that is, if we may zoom in really close and play with the focus a little bit, see all this nice like detail? Again, autofocus would be nice, but no. See, it's got like this nice like texturing, all this nice detail, all this nice like metallic shading and stuff. If you look on the actual character model, you will see none of that. So if you're trying to get something that's actually like matching the in-game model and stuff, you're probably not going to get it here, unfortunately. That said, it looks pretty damn cool. I quite like the sculpt, even though, again, I prefer original Metroid Prime 2 Dark Samus. I think this is significantly better than Metroid Prime 3's Dark Samus, and it's sort of a nice sort of in-betweeny. And the metallic shading on the helmet and all over the body, it's really nice. It makes this feel like a really well-designed and well-sculpted little figure. And we'll pull out and look at my other collection while I try and rip this out of the box. Just wanted to point out how different it looks compared to the actual, you know, model they're using in-game, because it doesn't quite match up. And the actual sculpt of this being a little bit awkward to take out for fear of breaking, but there we go. So, I will say right now that I have to quite appreciate the fact that she is supporting herself on clear white plastic, as opposed to Link, who was supported by like bright yellow plastic from his legs up, which looked a little bit all kinds of wrong. The transitions between the light and the dark blue and the black are really beautiful. I quite like this. This might be one of the nicest looking Amiibos I've ever seen. Unfortunately, as we all know, very few people actually get to see them because scalpers will take them all immediately off the shelves, because that's just what they do, because they're kind of the bane of everyone's existence. Seriously, scalpers are the worst. And I say that with full confidence in that I've already seen it. I went to Toys R Us when I first saw this, and they had shelves and shelves of this thing, and I went back the next day because I wanted to look again, thought about buying it for myself, even though I don't have a lot of money, and I proceeded to see 0 of them. In fact, the only Amiibo any shop ever had at that point was Incineroar, when they had about 1 billion of them. I don't know why no one likes Incineroar. I mean, granted, I don't like Incineroar, but I imagine someone must. Anyway, you can then take this into Smash, plug it in through the, what is it, NFC connection, through the little control stick thingies, and bring your character to life. Oh, lots of nice back detail, although not as nice as the front. And as you put them in the game, they will start out as a brain-dead AI. If you've never done this before, I will walk you through it a little bit. You can then proceed to beat on it, and it will learn to get a little bit less crap. That said, the actual intelligence of Amiibos has always been in question. As far as I understand, they don't actually get really any smarter. They get about as smart as a level 9 computer AI, and then after that, the attacks they choose to use are based on whatever style they've imprinted, as well as based on probability of their past successes in using that attack. That's about as smart as they get. But that said, you can apply different styles to them where they'll learn different techniques and play slightly differently. I found that the tricky style tends to work the best for these. But otherwise, it's basically a slightly floatier Samus with a much cooler paint job. I quite like this figure a lot. It looks quite nice, just taking it out of the box. And I look forward to training it in Smash, because that's really what I got it for. Well, that, and you know, when Metroid Prime 4 does come out, it will ultimately end up with having its own Dark Samus skin if you get this, hence the ulterior motive of why I asked for this for my birthday. That said, it's really fun to try and actually teach these Amiibos, try and see what they do, and see how their different styles change, and see where they end up varying their styles after they've gotten beaten down sufficiently by your other Amiibos or yourself, if you actually have the time to do that. But it's really fun to see ultimately how they end up developing, and how you can change that with different styles and stuff, by feeding them different spirits and giving them different alternative abilities and stuff. Very, very fun. The figure itself is quite pretty. I, once again, quite like that metallic sheen, and the transitions between colors are quite nice. Although you do lose a lot of the detail, like in the chest here. There's just, you lose all that patterning just in the darkness of the black. And I've actually seen this in a couple of models. I actually painted one up myself that was pretty much entirely black and purple, and you can basically see nothing in it. Dark colors are really tricky, and that's why typically when you end up making something like this, whenever you use dark colors and you use like the same color next to each other, you usually have to have like 3 varying shades just so that you can make the detail pop. Unfortunately, as detailed and cool as this is, a lot of that is lost, unfortunately. That said, that arm cannon right there, that's really, really cool. I have to admit, I quite like this sculpt. This might be the nicest Amiibo I've ever seen. Previously, it was this guy. This guy's pretty cool too. But there is one other thing I'd like to talk about in this, I guess, kind of review thing we're doing of this Dark Samus Amiibo, and that is one other quick comparison, and that is, of course, with the main girl herself. The Eternal Rivalry. Now, there's a lot of differences between the two and a lot of similarities. As you can see, they kind of have somewhat similar designs. I mean, they are based around the same character model. I mean, that's kind of the whole point. In-game, Dark Samus plays a little bit floatier, and if I recall, she doesn't have a morph ball when she dodges, unlike Samus. That's the extent I know. I'm not a Smash Master. If you're asking for like pro Smash tips and how to, you know, like Smash and what the actual difference between clone fighters is, I'm not that person. I don't play Smash half as much. I just put these guys on to fight, so I've got something on the background while I'm editing. But that said, aside from colors, aside from detail, which this one completely blows out of the water, although you can at least see the detail in this one because it's slightly less dark, that's again a visual thing, there's something also very important you have to consider about these two. And that is something that's a little bit less tangible, at least immediately tangible. And that is that my original Samus Amiibo, this was a first run that came with the Wii U Smash Brothers, whose leg is apparently popped off. What the hell, Samus? I'm gonna have to glue that in. I've never seen that before. I guess Amiibos have a shelf life of about 5 years. Who knew? But yeah, her ankle just popped out. Weird. Aside from the fact that they look fundamentally somewhat different, their moves in-game are slightly different, and this one's now falling apart for some reason, it's a little bit less immediately tangible, but this Samus Amiibo that launched, you know, 5 years ago or so, with the new Smash Bros. At the time, this costs about $10. Once you add in shipping and you're really generous with, or shipping, once you add in taxes and get really generous with that, it's maybe about $15, if that. Dark Samus, and this is before, you know, scalpers get a hold of it, which they already have, unfortunately, and this is the time to get it if you're avoiding that, you know, she costs, like, before taxes and everything, like $25. So even generously, she's $10 more at least. Even Ridley, who cost a little bit more than the original Samus Amiibo, who had like that nice ground effect, who had a lot of like really nice detail, who was a fundamentally very big Amiibo, despite the fact that their height is the same. It's not exactly to scale, of course. He costs somewhere in between. And that means that even the fundamental prices of Amiibos are going up, which of course means that scalping is going to get even worse. It means that, you know, if you want to get a hold of this stuff, unless Nintendo starts selling it in, like, first-party, like, capacity, as opposed to forcing everyone else to buy it and just producing them, you know, all the time, they're going to get more expensive and they're going to get harder to find. I mean, that's why I don't have a Martha Amiibo right now. I kind of wanted one at launch, but nope, that didn't happen. You know, Dark Samus is an amazing sculpt, it's an amazing Amiibo, and it's based on Samus, which is awesome. It's not my favorite Dark Samus, but, you know, I think this is one that you should absolutely get, especially, you know, considering I didn't pay for it, but at the same time, given the fact that it's only going to get worse and more expensive if we keep buying them, I'm a little bit hesitant. And the fact that scalpers have already gotten their hands on them means that, you know, finding one at a fair price is going to be difficult. The other thing that makes me kind of dislike the whole Amiibo system in general is that they're both underutilized and way too overutilized. And that's a very awkward thing to say, but just hear me out here, okay? Amiibos were created during the time of, say, you know, Skylanders, or Lego Dimensions, or Disney Infinity, or whatever. Like, during the tail end of that, they kind of came into vogue. The problem is that unlike all those games, there never was an Amiibo game. The closest we ever got was Smash, and honestly, Smash is the best it's ever been utilized, in that you can actually, you know, bring these characters to life, hence the whole toys to life, you know, business model that they're trying to capitalize on. But that's the one thing, they never got their own actual game. And here, while it's tons of fun to see your little puppets dance about and, you know, kill each other for your amusement, and that's exactly why I like playing this game, honestly. You know, there's nothing that really feels like there was an actual game designed around these things. They were totally underutilized, and yet they are also in every game now that Nintendo puts out. Everything has Amiibo support, and yet Smash is still the only one that actually utilizes each individual character. Best you can get in any other game is like a costume, which is honestly why I asked for this. Aside from it looking cool, I expect there to be a Dark Samus costume in Metroid Prime 4 if you have this thing, and that's why I got it. But that's not really the same as just playing as the character you own in this world that is designed around playing as all the Nintendo characters. There's no love letter to all of Nintendo and its characters and all of video games now that non-Nintendo characters are involved. There's nothing like that. And, you know, getting those costumes, that's sort of like the best case scenario for most games. At worst, you just get some random item drops, like in Breath of the Wild or, say, Fire Emblem. They're completely underutilized in that regard. I both love and hate the Amiibos for that reason. And it really sucks that this is a continuation of this because they still haven't really done anything with them. There's no real reason to collect these other than just collecting them because you like them, or again, you're a scalper and you just want to, you know, prey on the fact that collectors want to have these things. They look nice, they're great to look at on a shelf, and they're fun to put in Smash, but they're just never really used for anything significant otherwise. If you can get a Dark Samus right now for about the price of $25, which is what I got off Amazon when this was bought for me for my birthday, I would say do it, but if you're going to pay more than that, you're buying it because you really, really, really just must have this because you're like the ultimate Metroid collector. And you got like the 3DS Samus one as well, and you spent a fortune on that. In which case, I'm very jealous of you that you have that kind of money, but at the same time, I think this one's going to totally be worth it to add to your collection. But now's the time to get it if you're going to get it at all, because after this, it's pretty much just going to go insanely expensive. This was released about a month ago, and unfortunately scalpers have already gotten their hands on it, which is a damn shame because this is like one of the nicest Amiibos I've ever seen. And I look forward to using this and getting my ultimate Dark Samus skin in Metroid Prime 4 when that does inevitably happen, because you just know it's gonna happen. But yeah, Amiibos, they're kind of something I'm not entirely positive about just because I dislike how the market is going and how they were produced and sold. But you gotta admit, they have really gotten good in quality. I mean, even my original Samus, despite the fact she's falling apart, she looked great. But this is a whole nother level. This might be a new generation of Amiibos and Amiibo quality, and that's really, really cool. Let's just hope that, you know, we as fans and people who just want to have fun and not just make a quick buck, you know, preying on other people's desires, will actually get to enjoy it.